Everybody, it's Kim. I just recorded 2 whole videos and then realized that the microphone wasn't on, so I'm gonna record them both again. In past videos, we have talked about how some of us create things in the headspace or have attempted to create things in the headspace, and obviously because that is an experience that is completely unique to us. I'm not just saying like unique to systems, it's unique to us because everybody's headspace works differently. These are not right. There we go. You guys were curious about that whole process and how that worked, so that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. But to do so, we have to go back to the beginning. In the beginning, there was nothingness, which sounds really biblical, but for real, like the headspace was nothing. It was nothing. It was a blob. It was just black, empty space where we all kind of floated and existed. And I'm saying that with certainty because that's like Kit has described to me what it felt like to her. And then when started to become aware of us and was with a therapist, a specialist and everything, she needed access to the headspace. And so Jonathan took it upon himself to create an island. He created a whole island from literally nothing, like mountains and a beach with a lagoon and like a whole backs area. It was a full island with little animals and plants and water and fish and all of it. And he just like was like, oh, this is what we need, boop, which is wild to me. I don't know how that works. I didn't get to experience the island for long because I was back in what had turned into the mountains surrounding the edges of the island, like the cliffs and stuff. My dormancy was translated to a mountain cave, I guess. But everybody else existed and lived in their own little huts on the island, and they could create things to an extent. Like if they wanted something, some decoration or piece of furniture in their huts, they would just think about it and it would poof, it would appear, and it would stick there. Everything was a very passive background. They didn't have to think about it or concentrate on it to have it continue existing. Just like you don't have to do in, you know, the out here world. If I stop looking at bookshelf behind me, the bookshelf behind me still exists. The first time that that the system, like I'm speaking for them and what they've told me, the first time that they found a wall to the limits of their creation abilities is when our therapist suggested that we build basically Moana's grandma in the headspace, not as an altar, but as like a very detailed NPC assigned to caring for the littles. So everybody sort of kumbaya'd together and tried to focus on creating Moana's grandma. And if we weren't all focusing on it, she just didn't exist. It didn't work. So obviously that's not something that we could maintain and have looking after the littles, because if we all needed to pay attention to that, then we might as well just be watching the littles ourselves. So that was an abandoned project. So fast forward a long time, I come out and Ed and Oz are created, and that same day as Ed and Oz's creation, the entire headspace changes from an island to a bustling city full of NPCs and like grocery stores and nightclubs and coffee houses and just a very full detailed city, all existing passively as far as we experience it. Like the NPCs are going about their lives, whether we are looking out our window and seeing them or we are out at the coffee shop and seeing them or not. It's just like a fully functioning little world bubble that we have now. That being said, everybody's ability to create things in the inner world has shrunk significantly. If we wanted a new couch in our apartment, we couldn't just poof, there's a new couch in our apartment. We would have to go out to the store and pick one out. And money doesn't exist in the inner world, so we just pick it out and then bring it to our apartment. Ask the movers to help us up, you know? So it's very much like the real world now, where you have to go get things if you want them. But then once that couch is in the apartment, it exists passively again. We don't have to continue to think about the new couch. It's just there. I don't know if the inner world runs passively or to what extent it runs actively with Ed and Oz. I know that Ed is able to come out and interact with us and interact with the world and stuff, and that doesn't cause any hiccups. Oz is basically just in his room, at all times doing something that makes the headspace run smoothly. He has fronted for short periods of time, and that has caused no disruption in the inner world whatsoever that we've experienced. So I guess he doesn't like constantly need to be grinding the wheel or whatever the hell he does. I'm assuming that there is some level of like somebody needs to be concentrating on this to make it work. It's not any of us. When Andrew deployed, I decided I wanted to test our creation abilities again because I was super lonely, and so I made myself a pet. I made a big fluffy wolf friend for myself, and I named him Lehman Russ because in this house we like Warhammer, and that is a Warhammer reference for those of you who don't know what that name is. And I was able to make Lehman Russ, my wolf, not the character. And it was great. It was nice. I'd be, come back to my room and there'd be my little fluff boy and I'd cuddle on his fluffy chest and just like watch TV and stuff. But I had to think about it. Like on a stressful day, I wouldn't actively be like, oh yeah, and make a wolf in my room. And then he just wouldn't be there. I had to be thinking about it. And then after a while, there were just a couple days of me not thinking about it. And then I was like, oh, and I tried to remember exactly how it was and like bring him back. And I just decided that it was too fake by that point. I gave up. So again, Ed and Oz are creating an entire functioning city, and I can barely create a functioning wolf. It was easier for me to do that than it was for everybody to make Moana's grandma, probably because a wolf needs to be much less detailed than a living, breathing human being. So like the more complicated something is, the harder it is to, create them from your imagination. But they don't stick, they don't work. Why? That's a great question. I have no idea. I don't have any whys to any of this. And we all have different levels of experiencing the inner world. Like for Wynn, everything in the inner world is active to some degree. Like her room is a constant, the what's in her room and the way it's laid out, it doesn't change, but she does have to think, oh, hey, my room. Like she has to she can't just be in the headspace passively. She has to be like focusing, or else she kind of just finds herself back in the void again. And she has to focus even harder if she leaves her room for any reason, goes down the hall, visits us, God forbid she goes outside. We haven't tried that very often. It doesn't work. It's tiring for her. But yeah, and why is that? I don't know. Brains are weird. I'd love, more studies, but there's so much still to go when it comes to studying DID and all this stuff. So I don't know if that's even something that's studyable, the inner workings of the headspace, so we may never have answers. But you guys were curious to how we experience things, so I have the hows, even if I don't have the whys. Quick reminder, we are having a sale on our Teespring. If you type in this code at checkout, you will get a discount off of I don't remember what the discount is, so I'm just gonna number right there. That's how much you'll get off of the product. It's really great for like holiday presents, for whatever holiday you happen to be celebrating or not celebrating. And if you get any of our stuff, take a picture of you wearing it or displaying it or whatever, and we will feature your image on one of our videos as a cool way to say thank you. I hope you guys have a super great day, and remember, you are loved, you are valuable, and you are valid. Bye!